Does Dandadan already have potential to be a masterpiece? Legit question, by the way, because Dandadan feels like it's a show that can't even predict the next scene that's going to happen. Like, the show doesn't even know what will happen next. And also, I've got to say, this anime creates some of the best out-of-context screenshots ever. I think we'll be seeing them for years after the series and turned into memes for centuries. They are that good. So let's go ahead and jump into Dandadan episode 4. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. EST, Gamer Supps are releasing their new Bloodsucker Waifu Cup for Halloween. Use the code CTactics to get 10% off and give me a commission for every purchase you make. And my code also works with the free samples too if you're on the fence. You guys have been supporting me through this link really hard this year, so I appreciate all of your love and support. Thank you. So they arrive at Turbo Granny's tunnel to race the old bat. Now this immediately turns into a little spat between Momo and Okarun on who should go first. And seriously, I love their chemistry so goddamn much. It's so fun. The fact that Momo tried to use even the little eyes trick on Okarun and it just didn't work is just so funny to me. So their goal is very simple. They need to lure Turbo Granny away from the bound spirit, which is outside Shono City. And if they do that, then she weakens and they'll be able to defeat her. Now, I also love how Momo, she's sort of like, yeah, you know, how bad can one old lady really be, right? Right? Well, about that, Momo. Oh, she's bad. And she's big, too. In fact, she's so bad she can plug both ends of the tunnel with her face. Now, I don't know about you guys, but Wincient's Waru. And because these guys are nailing the paranormal aspect of this show so well in terms of animation and art design. I don't think I've ever, and I truly mean this, ever seen an anime studio embrace the spirit of a mangaka so well, in many ways improving upon it. In that sense, it reminds me a lot of Attack on Titan, which I'm very well acquainted with, and how the anime felt like a definitive version of the manga, which is kind of crazy because the Dandadan manga is arguably one of the best drawn in the entire medium. So Momo decides to fire off the baseball bats that I assume Seiko gave them, but Turbo Granny's eyes turn into mouths and she eats them. And it's such a creative visual and shows how terrifying and powerful Turbo Granny is. I mean, she's paranormal. Nothing about her makes sense. She is above that of humans. She's something else. So of course she would do something crazy like this. And that realization really allows Turbo Granny to be seen as this massive threat. But in a crazy twist, Okarun turns into his powered up cursed Turbo Granny form. But his power is suddenly taken away as Turbo Granny decides to, well, give back his junk. Now this is something they clearly did not see coming, but is a clever trick for Turbo Granny to pull here, even if she herself is surprised Okarun was able to transform as is. You know, it's that old anime trope in shonen, right? Okarun is the special MC who defies the odds. So, like Seiko planned out, she knows Turbo Granny is full of pride due to her speed, so she would never back down from a race because she is the fastest granny ever. So Momo and Okarun challenge them to a game of tag in which they get a 10-minute head start, which means almost nothing because Turbo Granny counts down weirdly and ends up immediately tagging Momo with these hands which come out of the ground. And guys, this was such a great visual. And once again, Wincient's Waru, as it wraps up around Momo into this pod-like hand thing. So creepy, but so great. So Okarun calls out Turbo Granny for not counting right. However, the devil is always in the details. She never agreed on how she would count. So Okarun and just I think the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life, decides to take the bat up on the suckling deal from episode 1, and so he jumps at her, and I swear to God, this happened, I'm not making this up, right? He bites her tit, like really hard, and she screams out in pain. That's right, too shy boy, to save his only friend from certain death, bit onto the nipple of a centuries-old yokai that stole his junk. And whoever said anime was weird, right? Nah, it's not weird, no way. This gets even crazier somehow because Turbo Granny is all like,
how dare you? You can only do that if I ask.
But Okarun is persistent because the deal was, if he suckles the teat, she'll get his junk. And even worse for the bat is that the clothes Okarun is wearing is canceling out her spirit energy. So her only choice is to possess Okarun and this incredibly animated sequence. I'm not kidding when I say that no matter how many times I see this anime, Dandadan is just always impressive to me. I don't know how how they are able to pull all of this off, but I think everyone who worked on this anime, guys, you're gods. I'm just gonna say it right now. I gotta mention this because is Turbo Granny's true form a reference to Hakumen no Mono, aka the white nine-tailed fox from Yushido and Tora? Like, it is shockingly similar in art. So in this incredible moment, Momo's powers finally become clear to her, or rather that Turbo Granny is within Okarun, which has replaced the dim blue flame that was there before. She's able to stop Turbo Granny from taking over Okarun's body, and in a hilarious moment, Turbo Granny is then forced to possess Okarun's scarf and separate Turbo Granny from her bound spirit, which, by the way, is a giant crab. And guys, I gotta play the clip.
The stages of the game will also be based on famous battles which actually took place in ancient Japan. So here's this giant enemy crab.
So much like in episode 2, we get this hilarious moment where Momo and Okarun are running as fast as they can, as this incredible spectacle of them being chased by this giant crab is just on full display. So good, but it turns out that there is an explanation for it being a crab. As Seiko told them, when his spirit crosses over, they are turned into freshwater crabs for some reason. But in this incredible moment, Okarun transforms into his Turbo Granny form, and Momo hops on while she strangles Turbo Granny like Homer does Bart. So eventually Okarun runs over the barrier and turns into a helicopter. What in the hell is this anime even about anymore? What is happening? I gotta ask, is Dandadan actually going to join the pantheon of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Chainsaw Man for being just random as all heck? I guess we're lucky he didn't helicopter his well, you know what. So after they land, which ends with Momo apologizing, which is another example of Momo being compassionate, even in a situation like this, she cares about the well-being of Momo. And that's the reason I keep stressing this with Momo, is just mostly because I think this aspect of her is so underrated, and I think a lot of people are so used to characters like Momo historically being sort of on the annoying side. Instead, Momo seems to just defy the general expectation from anime viewers by having her be this insanely compassionate person to basically everyone in the series thus far. It's just this great breath of fresh air, and it's also subtle, and that's what makes Momo great, in my opinion. So the crab continues the chase as Momo spots that there are human faces on its back. Just looks so creepy. And the chase continues into a busy street where people are there, but they can't see the bound spirit at all, and eventually Okarun runs out of energy. So Momo, with a Hail Mary attempt, decides to go to a bathhouse where the crab breaks in, and at first it seems like this is a bad idea, but no, they plan to boil this sucker, because when a crab boils in hot water, you know, the muscle stiffens, so slowing it down considerably. I also love how Momo, she gets hungry seeing it turn red. This was just so creative and fun. I mean, Dandadan, it's just so fun, man. I love this anime. Now, I do want to ask you guys, should we give Momo and Okarun a team name? I was actually thinking about this the past couple of episodes, and I think I have a couple names, so I'll let you guys decide in the comments below. My suggestions for Okarun and Momo, I guess you can also call it their ship name, is the Dipshit Duo or the Clown Club. What do you guys think? This then leads into one of the best animated moments of 2024. No cap. These spirits run and jump them as Okarun transforms, but Okarun is so fast with Turbo Granny's powers that they are able to simply outrun them all. Now, if you didn't know, this moment is a direct callback to Chainsaw Man being jumped by the zombie devil in episode 1, which makes sense. Yukinobu Tatsu, the creator of Dandadan, was an assistant on Chainsaw Man Part 1. He even delayed Dandadan so he could help Tatsuki Fujimoto finish Part 1. Now, from a character perspective, I also love this moment because it required Okarun to let go of his past trauma and trust Momo. This was huge for Okarun's character and shows that, yes, there are people who have good intentions for him out there. But in the middle of that, Momo accidentally lets go of Turbo Granny, and we see this, oh my god, this amazing visual of Turbo Granny with an army of spirits and a giant crab. Eventually, the chase ends up on a train, and such an incredible, oh my god, incredible moment. It was so good. And even better, on the train tracks is Seiko waiting for them to finish this. And they do. Momo, with the help of Okarun, successfully defeats Turbo Granny as we see this godly animation from Wincience Waru of the spirits of those captured by the bound spirit being released. And I couldn't help but get honestly a tad bit emotional emotional because as a reader of Dandadan Weekly, this was just, man, we've come so far as a community. We're finally here, y'all, and the anime is just so perfect in every way. I'm so happy. You have no idea. Turns out, though, this was the site of multiple murders of high school women, which is also why Turbo Granny appeared here. Not because she did the murders, but because she appears near the site of where the murders take place to probably help console the dead spirits of these women. Now, this episode then winds down with one of the best aspects of Dandadan, so get used to it. It's great. The end of arc feasts. Yep, just like One Piece, we get to see everyone chow down and reflect, like the beginnings of a found family. It's just so beautiful to see. They're also weird as heck too, like really weird. Like Momo, Seiko, they both want to see Okarun's junk, and like I said, this family is weird, but that's what makes them so warm too. They have a dynamic to them, even if it's odd and strange, even if they want to see Okarun's junk. So Okarun and Momo go to say goodbye to each other with Okarun looking down, and since it's Momo, a goodbye just doesn't feel right, so she says, see you tomorrow. I gotta say, there is something about Dandadan that is just so fun at its core. The dynamic of the characters so far reminds me in some ways of the goofier aspects of Chainsaw Man's cast, like Aki, Power, and Denji, something like that. But the tone of this world is like Ghostbusters meets Aliens meets Shonen with a bunch of rom-com, drama, and other trace elements. It's hard to pinpoint Dandadan in that sense, but whatever it is, oh, I love it. This anime just gets crazier and crazier with each passing episode, and I don't know about you, but we need to take care of Winscience Waru because they are a national treasure out here animating one of the craziest anime I've seen in my life. I know it's a little early, but I want to start a discussion in the comments. Do you guys think that this anime has potential to be a masterpiece if season 1 is done like this consistently? In my opinion, despite how random this show is, I just have this feeling in my stomach that we're going to be talking about Dandadan pretty much forever. Winscience Waru has done something I don't think any studio other than probably Wit, Madhouse, Mappa, or KyoAni could do, which is create an anime that has zero compromises and improves upon the original material. But once again, Dandadan's manga, it's not any slouch either. It's easily the best weekly release series in terms of its high production quality. And still, Winscience Waru is out here catching dubs left and right. There is no moment in this anime so far where I felt it wasn't just as good or even better than the original. So comment below, what do you think about Dandadan Episode 4? If you haven't, check out Supps and use my 10% off code. Also, I run a Dandadan channel where I cover new chapters that come out every Monday, and guys, we're blowing up. So if you're caught up, head on over, show your support and love. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.